Yo, what's up guys, so Housing just released a new update and I'm going to go over everything you need to know about it in this video right now. So I set up a house that pretty much shows you all the new features, but I really quick want to show before I go in the house that if we right click on our house, we have this new setting for safe mode. I'm not going to showcase it right now, but basically it joins your house in a mode that makes me immune from all actions. So if you messed up somewhere and you can't do it because you're opening a menu or teleporting, this is what you can do now, which is really cool. And now we will join and I'll show you guys all the new stuff. Alright, so let's get started. So first here we have the new drop item action. If we open this up here, you can choose an item similar to how the has item condition works. You can choose a location. I have it set to this bedrock here. You can choose whether it drops naturally or not naturally. If it's naturally, then it has some slight randomness, similar to how when you kill a mob and they have item drops. If this is disabled, it'll just spawn the item, no problem. If you have this disabled, it'll just spawn the item at the location with no randomness at all. Item merging, what this does, if it's on, it will merge with other items of the same type, assuming that they also stack. You would want this on, in my opinion, because if you don't have it on, it really adds up to your dropped items limit, which is a new limit. And basically this counts each stack. So if you have 2 stacks of diamonds, it won't be 120 whatever, it'll be only 2. It'll add 2 to the limit, if that makes sense. We have prioritized player, whether if not the player who activated the action. So if I click the NPC, that would be me. Should be prioritized to pick up the item that dropped. Holy crap! And then fall back to inventory. If it can't fit in their inventory, then it will be dropped. An idea I had with this was recreating the diamond generator in Bed Wars. I think this is probably like a small, simple example, but hopefully people will think of some pretty cool stuff with this. But yeah, without the way, we have 2 new other actions that I'll showcase in these items. We have the velocity action and the shoot towards action is what it's actually called. So now we have a change velocity action. If we open it up, we can choose the amount that we get pushed in each direction. So X, Y, and Z. The values can be -50 to 50, 50 being positive, -50 being negative. So in this example, I have the Z and X not moving me at all. But on the Y, I should go up 10. So if I right click, we go up 10. Not 10 blocks. I think it's more velocity with this, like Minecraft its own thing, but hopefully you get the idea. Shoot to bedrock. This is not the shoot to bedrock action. This is the launch to target. Wow, I got both wrong. If we open this up, we can choose a target location as well as a strength, which I think can also be 0 to 50. Set it to 1. If I right click, I have this bedrock tower here. That's the target. If I right click, I get pushed towards it. So I can go over here, get pushed towards it. If you're flying, you get pushed towards it still. And I do want to point out that you will never go down. So if I'm on top, it's not going to push me down. It's actually going to push me up. With this, a lot of changes have been made to the teleport action. If we open this up, we can go inside the teleport action. We can choose our location as normal, but you can see there are caret symbols in here. And what that means is it will teleport you in the direction that you're looking. So think of your head as a camera. Z is forward and backwards, Y is up and down, and X is left and right. So in this example, I have it teleport me 5 blocks forward, but I also have this on, which prevents me from teleporting inside blocks. And I'll show you what that means in a second. I can right click this sword now, and it'll teleport me 5 blocks forward, which I think is really cool. It actually recreates the aspect of the end, which you can do in housing now, without a bunch of funky math functions and stuff, which is really nice. And what I meant by the stuck inside blocks thing is if we right click, that will lead us inside of these bedrock blocks here. It'll actually teleport us to the nearest top location. So we try it again, we should teleport on top of the bedrock. What's also incredibly nice is you can now use placeholders in the teleport action. What I mean by this is if I go to commands and open this up, we can go inside of set home and we have 3 player stats in here. I just set home X, Y, and Z to the player X, Y, and Z. I also just print out a little message, but it's the go to home action that is most interesting. And if we open this up, I have 4 different teleport actions here that will teleport me to where I set my home. Now, why don't I just have 1? And that was because, and I was looking at it more, it still uses the older anvil format, which means I can't fit all 3 placeholders in one. So a way around this I thought of is what I do is I just teleport them to 0, 0, and then I teleport them individually to home X. So what I'm doing is I'm adding the X coordinate to where we are individually. So then we do that again for the Y, and we do that for the Z, and that'll lead us to where we want to go. So I can do such set home. I'll do it right here on this block. If I go over here and do such go to home, it teleports me right back to where I set. Before I move on from this command, I do want to open up go to home one last time. Oops, sorry, I meant to right click. There's a new setting here that says listed. Now by default, this is on now. I think for older commands, this is off, but it is on now. And what it means is that when it's listed, we can do such go to, I'll press the H and then I'll press the tab key and it'll autofill the rest of the command. Previous to this, it didn't do that. You have to type it out. And I also believe that on later versions, it'll pre-fill it for you, if you know what I mean, but I'm not sure, so I might be wrong on that. Some smaller things I want to showcase here where different stuff changed in actions individually. Starting off with the apply potion effect, we can now change the show potion icon. What it does is you can either disable or enable the ability to show the potion icon in the top right of your screen. I don't think this is that useful, but I'd still show it. It's part of the update. We're going to add a conditional and go inside, and we're just going to add a random condition. I'll check if they are, let's say, flying. You can now invert it. And what this means is that instead of running the if actions when they are flying, by turning this off, it will run the if actions if they aren't flying. So basically, you're checking the opposite of what's in here. Probably a better example is if I use the player health, you can check if it's equal to 10, and by turning on invert, it'll check if it's not equal to 10. Hopefully that makes sense. It's basically reversing the condition, if that makes sense. We're gonna stay in conditional here because inside conditions, the has item condition has changed slightly. It looks a little better in my opinion. I think the barrier for the item is cool, but the most notable thing is the where to check. If we go inside here, we have, I think, 2 more options. So we have the other ones like hand, armor, and anywhere, but we also have cursor. So this is if the player has the item currently picked up in their cursor, and crafting grid to check if it's currently in their crafting grid when in survival mode, the 2x2 grid. Okay, so I was curious. I went to the give action to see if maybe you could also choose to place the item in the cursor or in the 2x2 grid, which would allow for some pretty cool stuff, but unfortunately we can't. At least not that it appears. And the last thing to show in the actions menu is if we have a really important change player stat here and I accidentally remove it, there's a new restore last remove action, click, and it'll bring the action back. This update also added 3 new themes and I'll show them individually on screen right now. One of them is based on Skyblock. The Elixir one might be 2, but I'm not sure. I don't often use themes, but I mean, they're still definitely cool to have. And some of the more smaller stuff to just point out because that is part of the update. We can go to the carpenter and right click on him and we have the option to remove the carpenter. He'll disappear. He'll also say, I'll miss you in the chat, which I think is kind of cool. But if you go to your housing menu, go to themes, you can bring him back. In items, if you go to the second page, you can now find the individual paintings for all the different art pieces in Minecraft, which is certainly actually very cool. Another thing you'll notice is that they switched from using whatever they're doing on housing to whatever they also use for global listing of colors. So if we open up the permissions and groups menu, you can see that finally groups have the correct color corresponding as the head, which is awesome. Along with this, if we go inside of skull packs and color cut pack, there's a bunch more here, and there's also, I think, there's a bunch more here. These are the colors they're also using for the groups, and there's more exact colors, which is also very nice. By going to house settings and going to player data, you can now right-click to clear all stored player stats. I'm actually really glad they added this because when I release houses, I always have people come and test them, and there can be issues. And when I finally release them, the old people still have stuff saved, blah, blah, blah. This will fix that. I'm really happy they added this. Just note that this also includes offline players, if that wasn't obvious, and you cannot reverse this. If I go inside of a group, let's say the staff group, I can now clear group players, which removes every single player who had this group, and I'm pretty sure just sets them back to default. Okay, so hopefully I made a quick note back in the video where I said they still use the anvil format for some stuff. Apparently, I was wrong. If I go inside of the settings menu, and you can access this from anywhere in Hypixel, and go to the house settings, you can actually change the text input type from auto selection, which I would completely recommend you change it to chat. This allows you to do a lot more stuff. I'm pretty sure now this means that I can actually use all the placeholders in one teleport action. Yes, I can do that. I'm really glad I figured that out. Change your text format to chat. You'll be able to do stuff a lot easier. When I was testing this out, I found it a little bit buggy. I don't know if it's just me being weird, but you can now go inside of a hologram or item lore, and when you go to edit it, you can type something out, and then you can now use \n to separate them. So now if I put more text here, I'll just actually make something decent like line 2. We can now see, okay, yeah, so see, I don't know if it's just me being wrong. I don't know if I'm not doing this right, but I seem to have a lot of issues with this. But what it's supposed to do is create 2 individual lines. Now I had this working earlier, but I can't seem to do it again. I think I figured it out. So it has to be a new line. It can't be an edit. Oop. So I'd have to add a new line, and then I can do this, and yeah, there we go. So it adds 2 more lines. Another one of me just not understanding it. There's also 2 more placeholders. We have the player.parkour.ticks and player.parkour.formatted. So it has like a little timer. Originally, parkour houses would have to add their own timer because the way it's displayed on scoreboards is not very good looking. So now that we have an official thing for that, it's really nice because the timers might not always be super accurate. And besides these bug fixes on screen, that is it for this update. We haven't had an update in a super long time, so I'm really glad that we finally got one. That concludes the first housing update of this year. It has been told that housing updates will happen with less quality updates, but more throughout the year. So while this update may have not been huge, in my opinion, it was still pretty cool. That also means that we should hopefully get more housing updates. Probably not for a few months, maybe a month or two. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.